Welcome. You're listening to Latin Waves with your hosts, Sylvia and Stuart Richardson. Latin Waves is more than just hot rhythms. This is a show about community, about creating a culture that is inclusive and based on fairness. Because everyone deserves dignity, respect, and has something to contribute. A new world is possible, and it all starts with us. I'm delighted this morning to be joined by Yves Engler. He's one of my favorite political authors and someone who really brings to light issues that are not just of importance, but really define us as a society. Thank you so much for being with us, Yves.
Thanks for having me.
Now, in many ways, Haiti is one of those examples in history where we feel awe for the Black people who fought against liberation from slavery, and their reward was to be put on with sanctions and odious debts that they had to pay for their freedom. How has that history changed in the 21st century?
Well, unfortunately, it's not changed enough. Obviously, the Haitian Revolution was a brutal 13-year struggle against European enslavement that was fought against the French, first of all, secondly, the British, Spanish. There was different elements of Canadian, in quotations, as pre-Confederation, contribution to trying to suppress the Haitian Revolution. If you move forward to today, and then the Haitians were forced to pay their slave owners for lost property, which was the lost land and the lost slaves, the human beings, a debt that took more than 100 years for Haiti to pay off, all the way until the mid 1940s. But today, unfortunately, it's certainly not as brutal as during the slave period or the debt of independence that Haiti was forced to pay. But Haiti's under a dictatorship that's backed by the U.S. and Canada, and the only reason the dictatorship's able to stay is because of U.S. and Canadian support. So the Haitian Revolution did as much as any event in history to advance the cause of human liberation, but Haitians have not been able to fully gain the advances of that revolution.
In recent history, we've seen many disasters displace people and many disasters compromise the life of people. When we think of the 2008 cholera breakout in Haiti, the massive outreach and outpour of support by people, we think of a society that wants to see a world with justice. And so, can we talk a little bit about the importance of a country having its own government elected by the people? How has the removal of Aristides impacted not only Haiti's ability to recover, but to have a government that serves the people?
The ouster of the Aristide government in 2004 and thousands of other elected officials was a massive blow to struggling democratic system. It's a blow that continues to be felt in an indirect sense that in the years after the coup, the political party of Aristide, Famille Lavalas, the most popular political party, was excluded from elections. Also, at the level, there was a UN occupation of the country for 15 years. The UN still has a mission in Haiti that's quite influential, and that very much has undercut Haitian sovereignty. But today, concretely today, you have a president that is staying in office after his mandate expired. His Jovenel Moise's constitutional legitimacy was always very weak, even according to the official account. he only got 550,000 or so votes in a country of 11 million people, and there's doubts about whether he actually got all those votes. So it's a very small sliver of the population that participated in elections that were viewed as very very questionable. And so you have a president that's staying in power, even though all the constitutional authority within Haiti says that his mandate is done as of February 7th, and it's a presidency that's incredibly corrupt. There's found to been there's a couple $1 billion of the Petrocaribe subsidized oil program that Venezuela set up that was pilfered by Moise and his predecessor from the same political party, Michel Martelly. And Michel Martelly was the previous president. He was put into office by the U.S. and Canada after the earthquake and amidst the terrible cholera outbreak. They forced these elections that were done in terrible circumstances, and then when the second round had a candidate in the second round of the presidential runoff that was not of their liking, they just basically decided that Martelly, who was a former member of the Tonton Macoute of the Duvalier dictatorship, that he was rightfully in the second place, and he became president with very few people voting. And then Martelly put in Jovenel Moise. So the Canadian intervention in 2004, 17 years ago, to overthrow the elected government, to put in a coup government, it obviously directly undermined Haitian sovereignty and democracy, but it also led to the further imperial dominance of Haiti. Haiti has been struggling for genuine independence for a long time, and it's not like in 2002 it wasn't a country that already was quite penetrated by the imperial forces, but it just took it to a whole new level. And Haiti's institutions are very weak, consistently undercut by U.S. and Canada. The institutions that we strengthen, the main institution we're into strengthening, the Haitian police, of course, is very repressive, and it basically maintains the status quo of 12 families who are mostly light-skinned, basically dominating the economy. It directly maintains the dictatorship that the population is wholeheartedly against. And Canada's role in building up the Haitian police really took off after the 2004 coup, because basically what happened in 2004, unlike previous coups in Haitian history, they were forced, the U.S., France, and Canada were forced to send troops. The previous coups, it was just the Haitian military that overthrew the elected president, or a president that wasn't liked. But now, because the first Aristide government disbanded the Haitian military that was created by the U.S. that was only used to repress the domestic population, it was much more difficult to oust the president. They had to, send foreign troops. They couldn't just, get a faction of the military or the entire command of the military to overthrow the government. They needed a actual foreign intervention. So we've been basically building up, tripled in size, the Haitian police force over the past 15 years, and that's what much of what our so-called aid to Haiti has been doing. And of course, as I stated, it's about entrenching the unjust status quo, and at a macro level, but also at a specific level, maintaining a dictatorship that the population is overwhelmingly against.
When I think about the relationship that we all share with how one country can be overthrown and governed by NGOs and then have imposed presidents, it's a familiar story, sadly, for Latin Americans who have seen the coup in Honduras, the coup in Guatemala, who have seen coups, in Bolivia in the last 2 years, who have seen the Canada's leadership in trying to depose the elected government of Venezuela. So it's not a surprise story, but most people in the world think of Canada as a government of peacemaking, of goodwill. So, can we talk a little bit about the role of imperialism? Because we don't usually use this word at dinner time. We don't talk about why one nation would want to, govern other nations and impose the kinds of, restrictions against the poor, the kinds of odious wages that we determine, worthy in other areas that we wouldn't tolerate in our own land. So, how is Canada, as a so called broker, and for many Indigenous people as an imperialist power, impacting or preventing the path to democratic government?
First of all, Haiti is, when you look at the imperial structure in Latin America and the interventions and the destabilizations and all that kind of stuff, basically, Haiti is that on steroids, right? It's consistently the most egregious example of that U.S. Canadian imperial process in the hemisphere. And I think that the racism allows or enables an even more aggressive policy from the U.S. and Canada, anti-Black racism specifically. So what is that about, right? What's going on? Well, there are different elements to it. What part of what's going on is Haiti is a hub of low-wage sweatshop work. Right, it's the lowest wages in the hemisphere, and it's used as a way to pressure, workers in Mexico or Honduras who may be pushing for, union or higher minimum wage, and they say the sweatshop companies, including major Canadian ones like Gallant Activewear, say, oh, well, we can always move to Haiti if you try to get up to $8 or $10 a day. In Haiti we can pay people $4 or $5 a day. So there's a dynamic there as a sort of reserve army of labor. Haitians are they sort of used in that way. More at a more macro level, the imperial policy in the hemisphere is really about maintaining a U.S.-led domination, geopolitically controlling, keeping countries weak, keeping them divided, keeping them, dependent on the U.S. at, all kinds of different levels, for, broadly speaking, the interests of, foreign capital, for multinational corporations. And Canada is a big player in that, and most obviously in the mining sector, but also Canadian banks are big players in the hemisphere, and major Canadian sweatshop companies. So that's important part of that. Canada has been, Canadian elites have benefited, have done well by U.S. imperialism in the hemisphere, and the Canadian government has supported that. Haiti is a uniquely egregious example of Canada overthrowing a government, backing a 2-year brutal coup government that killed thousands of people, and then right up until today, having incredible levels of influence within the country and backing the most regressive, corrupt individuals of Haitian life. Basically, we empower the mafiosos of Haitian politics and Haitian society. That's who we decide should be the governors of Haiti. So this Canada's right at the heart of this, and that's why you see regularly at protests you see people targeting Canada, have signs with the Canadian flag on it, and you have people throwing Molotov cocktails at the Canadian embassy. About a year and a bit ago, burning tires in front of the Canadian embassy, protests going, passing and be targeting the embassy. And
I just want to say that in many ways we tend to become desensitized, and I think that when we have a government that is so overtly racist, against Black people in particular, we start to see a narrative unfolding, and in spite of the great social movement of Black Lives Matters that has become so visible in 2020 during a COVID pandemic, when more than 26 million participated in the Black Lives Matter, it seems that we can have corners of injustice in the world. We have to, like my father-in-law used to say, you can't have a peeing corner inside the pool. Either you allow no peeing in the pool, or it all gets contaminated. So in order for us to have a society with justice, we need to place the focus on places like Haiti, and we need to start thinking about, how am I implicated? How am I complicit with the oppression and the repression of people in Haiti? And how do you invite people to start not only thinking but taking action on, creating a world where justice is possible?
First part of that, I think, is that people, just if you happen to live in Canada, the government in place here is doing things in Haiti that are morally unacceptable, and so you basically have a responsibility to counteract that. And how do you do that? I mean, that's a broad discussion. A very tangible way would be, there's the Canadian Foreign Policy Institute has put forward a couple as a email action alert to MPs, calling on them to oppose this return to dictatorship in Haiti. And there's also a public letter that's been circulated. People can sign and find out about at foreignpolicy.ca. So, take a concrete action, contact your local MP to say that they should make their opposition to Canada's role in Haiti public, and put out a tweet or whatnot. So that's very concrete action in the here and now against a very specific dynamic. But the broader question is, people have to be informed. First of all, you have to look into these matters and take the time to learn about these matters, because you can't be a citizen. You can't be you can't have any effect until you can understand what's broadly going on. And then it's a matter of joining the different social movements, organizations challenging these issues. And there was after the coup of 2004, there was a Canada-Haiti Action Network across the country that had local chapters in many cities. Here in Montreal, the Solidarité Quebec Haiti has been active for the last couple of years on these issues. There's things like the Canada-Haiti Information Project. That's a information resource that people can check out. But you can join. You can create a Haiti Solidarity group, or just a peace organization, or a general international focused organization. People can get active with different political parties that are engaged in some of these issues, be that Communist Party or Socialist Action, or different groups that have actually been willing to oppose on these issues. People can, people who are members of the Greens or the NDP can bring these issues up within the party. There's some elements of those parties that have been willing to criticize Canadian policy, but there's no easy answer. I mean, the main thing is to build social movements and build progressive organizations that media outlets support financially or otherwise, media outlets that are willing to tell these stories. So yeah, there's many facets to it, but the main issue is people need to pay attention and get active on these issues.
And in the case of Haiti, they're a brilliant and heartbreaking example of resilience, of resistance. They were the first to liberate themselves from slavery, and they have paid a huge price. And I think in terms of their continual resistance, despite all the tragedies and catastrophes, the Haiti people are a very strong people. And I think for all of us, it's important to ally and become allies of people who can teach us how to do resilience, how to be strong, how to, you know, continuously dream of a world that has justice. So, as we will inevitably get blocked and feel defeated sometimes, what keeps you hoping? What keeps you moving? What keeps you creating this active hope? Because hope can be this thing that wishy dreaming, right? Or it can be an active hope where we are constantly acting and therefore we are hopeful that we can change it.
Well, first of all, if you look at the Haitian Revolution and the difficulties of what people overcame, obviously the difficulties that we face today in terms of, a government that is hostile, or you have political culture that is indifferent, or media that is that is aligned with power, and all those kind of obstacles, and many others that we face are inconsequential compared to the some of what concretely Haitians overcame to abolish slavery on the island. So I think it's important to be clear about the genuine obstacles, but also that the difficulties are not as drastic as it may seem. In terms of hope, I think that there are concrete advances that are being made and lost every day. There's the Haiti example. There are what's going on now. The dictatorship that the people are facing is a seriously regressive step. But the reality is that under this current dictatorship, it's there still are mass protests in a way that was just almost impossible under the Duvalier dictatorship, 30-year Duvalier dictatorship until the mid-1980s, and that's because there has been a process over the past 30, 35 years of the masses, the majority, having some political say. The Haitian elite in the U.S. and Canada have done everything they can to snuff out that political engagement, and they do everything they can to manipulate elections. But the fact there are elections is a step forward from where things were 35 years ago, right? So it's it's the levels of manipulation and interference and all those kind of things are real and are a significant obstacle to genuine democracy. But there have been advances. So those are things to look at, and I think that to a large extent, the same thing goes with our society, right? If you look at our society, you look at Canada, and you go back 70 years, you find that there was a whole lot more racism. There was a whole lot more indifference to what Canada did globally in terms of being involved in killing millions of people in the Korean War in the 1950s. So there have been some advancements. I think ecologically things are not going in a good direction. Ecologically things are going almost entirely in a negative direction. I think other spheres of political and social life, I think it's more complicated. There have been advancements with regards to weakening patriarchy. There have been advancements with lessening racism. There have been advancements with with undercutting certain types of authority. There have been, I think, steps in the wrong direction in terms of economic inequality. There's positives and negatives playing out, and what gives hope is to do what possible to increase the positives, the more egalitarian, ecologically minded, anti-colonial forces and dynamics that we're seeing, and there are important advancements on those fronts, and doing what we can to tip the scales further in that direction.
And I also feel that there is a responsibility, this ability to respond by first learning about these histories that are hidden in plain sight. We don't talk about this in our Canadian history class, how Canada's role of imperialism has deposed governments worldwide, and has created so much suffering. We don't talk in our daily conversations about what imperialism means for us, living in a Canadian state and among Indigenous people who are being disposed of their unceded territories. So all of these conversations I think, are part of a weaving, right, of who and what we want to envision for our children, to remember us. What are we, right? Are we agents of our history? Are we agents of change? Or are we simply going to go with the status quo, And one of my friends says, even a dead fish can go with the flow. So um, as we come to the closing of our interview, I just want us to maybe give us some concrete actions that people can take, given that the last week, there was a letter published criticizing Canada's support for the repressive, corrupt Haitian government. And so there's key things that are timely that people can do right now that can possibly make a difference.
Yeah, there's a public letter that was signed by three current MPs, three former MPs, people like David Suzuki, Noam Chomsky, Naomi Klein, Roger Waters, poet L. Jones, and other hundreds of other people. You can sign that letter at foreignpolicy.ca/public letter. You can also, it was an action alert earlier last month, which allows you to email all MPs all at once. It takes about a minute or so. That's available at Action Network. If you just punch in Stop Canada's support for du Vallérisme in Haiti, that's the former dictatorship, that public letter or that action alert is available online, and you can send an email to all the MPs so the MPs know that there are people who are paying attention to this and wanting them to speak up on this issue. It goes to the Foreign Affairs Minister as well. So those are two very concrete actions that people can take, and I think also just also informing themselves. We the Canadian Foreign Policy Institute, we did on Sunday there was a discussion of final day of Black History Month, and on the anniversary of the coup against Aristide in 2004, we did a screening of the movie Haiti Betrayed, which is a very powerful indictment of Canada's role in the 2004 coup and subsequent policy in Haiti. People can check out that movie. It's a very good introduction to Canada's role in Haiti. Probably the best film ever done on Canadian foreign policy. So people can check that out on Vimeo. So yeah, get informed. Sign the public letter, send an email to the MPs. That's, I think, a good start. And pay attention to the Canada-Haiti Information Project website and the Canadian Foreign Policy website at foreignpolicy.ca.
And join the Haiti Solidarity Network, because we only are strong, as we stand together. Your books on Canadian foreign policy are really a primer for anyone interested in changing the way our government is operating in our name.
Yeah, people can check out my writing at yvesengler.com, so YVESENGLER.com.
Thank you again for being with us.
Thank you.
We've come to the end of our show, Latin Waves. Latin Waves is an internationally syndicated weekly program made available through campus and community stations and available out to the world at www.latinwavesmedia.com. Visit Latin Waves Media to hear previous shows, to access resources, or support our efforts towards social change via community project engagement.